Hi, my name's James and this is Fleet Friday. All right, hi, this is the brand new Engine 40. It is one of the newest rigs in the fleet. It is a 2022 Pierce Velocity. It's a 1,000-gallon water tank in it with a 1,500 GPM pump. It's one of 2 1,000-gallon pumpers that we have here at South Metro. This is, again, the newest one. Its twin sister, Engine 47, was just delivered along with Engine 23 here at the South Metro, and they've all been placed into service. We'll start here at the cab. Just like most of the other apparatus here at South Metro, again, we run the Pierce Velocity cabs and chassis. The layout is fairly the same across the whole district. We do have several different pumpers, including some dashes, but those are being changed over to Velocities. So roving engineers and people that are not currently assigned to every station, we have the opportunity to work on the same platform that we have across the district that we're familiar with. That being said, this particular engine does have several different functions that it can do. Basically, it's a rolling water tender with that 1,000 gallons. The area that this pumper serves is largely unhydrated, rural, with a mix of, some closed housing, some large business. Has a lot more lighting than normal. Has a 72-inch brow light up front because it gets very dark here on the southwest side of the district. As well, it has some auxiliary LED lights up top for just brighter lights. So let's go ahead and jump in the cab and we'll show you what that looks like. So as the engineer, this is basically where I sit. I operate and drive the pump, or the pumper, operate the pump, get the crew to and from the calls safely. So we can jump up here. Basically, this is where I sit. And just like most of the other Pierce Velocity pumpers, I have my heads-up display here. Tells me, miles per hour, voltage, air pressure, fuel pressure, water temp, things like that. We also have our Pierce Command Center here. This links all of our seat belts, cab doors, body doors. Also does tire pressure monitoring. So I can have everything just heads up here, kind of right in front of me, so I'm not looking all over the truck trying to figure out, what a certain alarm is or whatever. Newer to these Pierce pumpers, we have the controls for emergency lighting and horns here on the actual steering wheel. I can also control them from our panel up here. And the nice thing about Pierce is I can also control my emergency lighting from down here. So I have 3 different options that I can turn my emergency lighting on with. We run Allison transmissions in these trucks. So it's just a push and play, put it into gear, drive. We have PTO driven pumps, so we always pump in neutral now with these newer trucks. So I stay in neutral, and then I engage my water pump, and everything's driven off of a PTO. We have climate control here, headsets. On the far side of the truck, we have various radios for the officer. And then I can also control all my scene lighting here. We have, front light bar, we have rear lights, side lighting. And we also have alley lights that'll go kind of diagonal. If some of the properties here are very long driveways, very set back from the road. They're not all marked great, so it's nice to have a lot of extra lighting to really light up the scene for us or light up the roadways for us. And next, we'll go into the back. So here at South Metro, we do have several ALS engines, so advanced life support engines. This is one of those engines. What that means is that we have a dedicated firefighter paramedic on the engine at all times. The majority of the suppression units will have a paramedic on them. They just, whether it's the officer or the engineer, somebody's usually a paramedic, but this particular apparatus has an actual firefighter paramedic on them, or on it. So the paramedic on this shift sits right here. We have our life pack, our kits, and that's all standard across the entire district. Everything's standardized. We have the same life pack, same kits, same inventories. A lot of the other rigs will have, you've seen that they have tactical vests and helmets. We have the same stuff. We have water rescue gear for ice rescues. We are very close proximity to one of the large lakes, as well as lots of ponds, so everything carries the ice rescue suits. Next, we can move into the pump and kind of the meat of the truck here. So with this Pierce Velocity, it has the PUC, which stands for Pumper Ultimate Configuration, not Pump Under Cab like it is often misconstrued. Basically what that means is it has pump located low, and it's a Pierce manufactured pump. It's very similar to a Darley pump. Again, we're very standardized here. All of our engines will have the same hose loads, same type of hose. For example, we have yellow and red hose for our pre-connect 1 3/4 lines. That is standard across all South Metro, including trucks. Red lines will pull off the right side. We like to make it nice and easy to remember. Yellow lines will pull off the left side of the truck. And then we also have 2.5 inch hose. We have trash line hose. So the green here, this is called a stinger. Basically what this does, it's a short section, 7 or 8 foot section of hose that once we actually pull this whole hose out, the hose load out, then we have the actual 200 feet of hose on the ground with that short green stinger section leading up to the piping here that comes from the actual pump. So that way we're not chewing up a little bit of hose. We know that we can have our 200 feet of hose once we clear that hose bed. Again, standard across the district with these Pierce Velocities, we have all of our intakes and discharges. This side, typically you'll have 1 5-inch per side. So our engines, we spec them with a 5-inch Storts on the driver side, a 5-inch Storts on the passenger side, and a 5-inch Storts on the front for our intakes. We also have an auxiliary intake here, as well as 2 2.5-inch discharges. Coming further back this way, this is our actual pump panel. As you can probably tell from the last video with engine 23, it looks almost exactly the same. So we do that for a reason, again, to standardize everything, so people moving around, engineers moving around, they can look at a pump and say, I've been here before, I know where everything is, I know how to operate everything. And there is some slight differences, but for the most part, we use all electronic valving for our inlets, our tank to pump, and then we have our normal valve controls for our discharges. We have an assortment of appliances here, different hose tips, adapters, large nozzles, small nozzles, caps, tools, dead blow hammers. I mean, we have kind of everything we're going to need to make any connection we can to another pumper, another building, to a hydrant. If something gets lost, we have a way to connect to it. We also have our short sections of hose. This is for connecting to a hydrant. If we roll onto a fire and I'm operating alone, I'll make these connections by myself without having to have another whole engine company try to make the connections for us so they can go to work. I can take care of our water supply. All right, this next compartment here has our Wildland hose, our Wildland web gear. This is a urban interface environment, so we have to be able to fight both structure fires and Wildland urban interface fires. So we have web gear here for every member to put on. Then we also have our progressive hose pack, so we can start a fire attack from this pumper into the Wildland environment. A unique thing about this particular pumper is the lack of high-rise hose packs. We do have a high-rise appliance bag here that has, gauges, nozzles, things we need for a high-rise fire, but we don't have the hose. So we can strip the hose off the bed if we need to. This being an outlying engine and away from the core, we don't typically go to high-rise fires. If there is a high-rise fire, again, we can just strip the hose off the bed. We do have a little bit of rope gear here. We do get slide-offs into ditches, things of that nature. So this hose, or this rope, is for that, to get the crew down safely to a patient or a patient up using a little bit of hose and mechanical advantage. And we also got tarps, water rescue rope and stuff all live in here as well. Now further back, this is where I keep my gear. This being a 4-person engine, we need everybody in the back to have access to their gear. Me being the driver, I don't need to pack up on the way to a call for a fire. So I have my air pack here. This is where I store my turnout gear, you know, my Wildland bag, vest, gloves, everything kind of live in here. I do keep my helmet up in the front of the cab with me. That way, when I get out on a car accident, if we need to, it's right there. I don't have to come all the way back here. Also in here, we have a fan for ventilation. We have our water cooler with ice, water, Gatorade, that nature. We've got Blitz Fire here. This is an unmanned monitor. This is a newer version that actually auto rotates and doesn't have to be manned, which is new for South Metro here. A couple of extinguishers here. Now we'll move on to the back. All right, we're here now at the back of the engine. This is our ladder leading up top to the dunnage boxes where we carry some spare foam, squeegee, shovels, stuff like that. This back compartment here, we carry our hydrant bag. We carry the tire chains for the apparatus. We're getting into winter here in Colorado, so as you can probably see, it's wet and snowy out, so we always carry the chains with us this time of year, just in case we need to chain up, get stuck. We do carry on-spot chains that are automatic on the truck, but those work in very little snow. These chains are for when it's real thick and real icy. We also have airbags in here, which is unique. Not all engines carry airbags, but this being an outlying station on a highway, we have airbags on this truck, or on this apparatus. Here we have Colorado hook, and we have an 8-foot and a 6-foot pike pole, and those just store right in there. And as I was referencing earlier, we have our stretch bed, or what we call a stretch bed. It's 800 feet of 2.5-inch hose in alternating colors. So we have 100 feet of yellow, 100 feet of orange, yellow, orange, so on and so forth. This is for making horizontal standpipe connections, or taking our fire hose, and instead of having that 200-foot pre-connect, we run a standpipe basically on its side. This is for apartment complexes or like the large layouts of these larger homes out here. We do this so we can actually get up to the house and not have to bury ourselves all the way in a driveway. We have 5-inch supply hose here as well, and you may notice how tall this rig actually is. I'm probably 6'7", which I'm actually not, and this is a very tall rig. The reason it's so tall is because of the 1,000 gallons. So the previous version of this truck had 1,500 gallons. It was a tandem axle truck. It was a longer truck. To standardize everything, you know, cut down on wear and tear, we shortened the wheelbase of the apparatus, went to a single rear axle, and then also lowered the amount of water that we actually carried on it. This particular station also has a water tender that's here in the bay that carries 3,000 gallons of water. So if there is a fire in this first due area, we'll take this apparatus and the tender, and we have 4,000 gallons of water that we're able to fight the fire with. And as you can see here on the back, we have a progressive hose pack set up. So as with the packs we saw up there, what we'll do is we'll actually stretch this hose line out first, connect into our progressive pack, which is this one up top. One of the firefighters will put that pack on, grab this nozzle, we'll charge this bundle of hose, and this will be his protective line as he's walking out, stretching that progressive pack. And then from there, we can start deploying pack to pack to pack to pack. Each pack has a Y, nozzle, and then we also have another 1-inch section of hose in there to fight that fire, so we can stack on it. That's what the progressive hose pack does. And now we're on the officer side, or the passenger side of the vehicle here at the rear. Another unique thing about this engine, we have a full set of extrication tools. So we use Homatro tools out here at South Metro. This is a corded version or a hosed version. So we have a hydraulic power unit, spreaders, and cutters. So we have a mix of hydraulic and electric tools. We also have chainsaws, K12s, which not all the engines carry. So out here where we are, we don't have a truck very close. Typically trucks carry this kind of equipment in the core. The outlying engine, since there's not trucks close, we try to carry all this gear to get a start on an extrication or cutting of fences. You know, whatever we need to do with the chainsaw, whether it's cutting a fence or a roof. We have the ability to do that before a truck will get here because they are a ways out. So next, this is our stabilization compartment. It has our rescue struts, has chains, cluster hooks, come-alongs. It has our airbag controls in it. So everything kind of just lives in here for stability of a vehicle, whether it's on its roof or on its side or it's just unstable. We have the ability to stabilize that car, which again is typically a truck function in the core of our district. So the trucks will usually carry that. The engines and pumpers will usually not carry that. But again, being out here so far away, we get to carry the best of everything, which is great. Again, we have more air cylinders on this side. This next compartment here has all of our hand tools. So Halligans, axes, all sorts of tools. This is a lot for forcible entry. We can use these axes for ventilation if we have to. Also in this compartment we carry lights, suction, we carry cribbing up top and our search rope. We also have a water can, some more oxygen, mega movers, and then the officer of the apparatus will typically stow their gear in here while we're driving to calls. If they don't need to have their turnout gear currently on them, they'll just pile everything in here. This compartment is just a continuation of the hose compartment from the other side, where you can see the right-handed red nozzle that deploys from this side, as well as our trash line and our 2.5-inch hose. Also on this side we have two inlets. We have our 5-inch inlet and 5-inch discharge, and then another 2.5-inch inlet and discharge on this side. In the back here, this is where our other firefighter sits, keeps all his gear. Again, we have all our medical equipment up here. We have, it's the same thing from the other side, just another guy sitting on this side. Now we go up front and see where the officer sits. So this is where the officer sits. They have their MDT or mobile data terminal, their thermal imaging camera, their Knox box keys. Basically they tell the engineer where we're going. They read the notes for the call, whether it's a medical call, they'll read off what's going on so we have at least a chance to prepare to, for whatever call we have. We'll also operate their different radios. We have Wildland radios. We also have just normal radios that we talk to each other on. Yeah, that's it for here. The 3 packs for this side, or the 3 seats for the officer and the 2 firefighters, they have the packs built in just like everything else. So on the way to a fire, they can get ready to pack up. And as soon as we get there and hit the air brake, they're off and going and getting ready to start the fight. So as I was saying, we have 3 5-inch intakes on this pumper. That's the standard here at South Metro. 2 on the sides, 1 on the front. The front we typically will try to use for drafting operations if that's what we're doing out here. We can put our drafting ponds right in front of the engine, have the engineer have a nice little walkway here so we can stay out of the lanes of traffic, still operate everything. So that's why we have this front intake. They will swivel so we can really do whatever we need to do if we're not in the perfect position. Also on the front bumper here, we have more what we call short shots of hose. These are 30-foot sections of hose, 5-inch and 2.5. These are our hydrant adapters, gate valve, hydrant wrench, spanner wrenches. So basically anything that we would need to connect this truck to a hydrant, we have it right here.